Welcome in, Braves Today, bravestoday.com. He is Lindsay Crosby. It's been a while since I've seen him, but that's because he's been just a little bit busy. And I may get into that a little bit later on because I'm actually very proud of Lindsay, and I think it's a very cool thing that he did. However, the most important thing right now is the Braves are playoff bound, regardless that they lose every other game that they play leading up to the playoffs.
The Braves had a little small champagne toast in the clubhouse on Sunday after the game because they have officially locked up a playoff spot. Obviously, they're not done, but they are officially in the playoffs. They're saving the champagne shower and everything for when they clinch the East, and the magic number is 6. And so you need 3 victories over the Phillies to do that. So you play 2 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday. Conceivably, you can clinch in Philadelphia if you win 3 out of 4.
Well, and the thing is that's the next point that's on the list, Lindsay, is you clinch the NL East, and you could possibly, I'm not saying, we've already talked about it's hard to sweep a team.
Yeah.
You get a sweep, you could possibly even clinch home field advantage if the Dodgers don't do well as well.
Yeah, you have you're up 6 games on the Dodgers. You don't play them again this year, so you just have to finish 6 games above them. And if you so pretty much if you both teams win every game, when you play 154 or 156, when you win 156, you're done. You've won it. There's no way they can catch you. And so if they drop a couple and you win the whole thing, you can start clinching home field as well. But for the NL East, the ideal scenario to me, they have an off day on Thursday. It's Wednesday's a getaway day. They'll leave Philadelphia. They'll fly to Miami. They'll have the off day in Miami and then play on Friday. So honestly, the goal should be win 2 out of the first 3 on Monday and Tuesday, and then win Wednesday, celebrate Wednesday night on the plane. You have a day in Miami to sleep it off, and we don't get that weird lineup you always get the day after you clinch where it's full of backups. You can just go back to the regulars on Friday.
So here's the funny part is before we get on here, Lindsay's talking about that and there's possibilities that we could do, and he starts throwing out names. I got to be honest with you. You put a gun to my head and you started asking me last year and year before, like what names were out there, and you threw out a name. I mean, we will start throwing out catchers that I've never heard of. It's almost like we trade for people to bring them in and give them some playing time as a tryout. But I know you can't do that, but I'm just saying you were throwing out name. Austin Riley was playing first at one point last year, which I completely forgot about until you brought it
was
up.
The starting catcher. You were giving so many guys days off. Yeah. When you won the East, and it's always like that. Any team that wins their division, they party that night. The next day, the lineup is just full of all 5 guys of your bench are starting the next day. You're going to see an outfield of like Kevin Pillar, Eddie Rosario, and Forrest Wall is going to be your starting outfield the day after you clinch. You're going to see Luke Williams playing shortstop. It's nuts.
The thing is, I absolutely love it too, because some of these guys do need some time before the playoffs get here. Because you mentioned Wall, for instance. I mean, they've talked about it all year long. They want to bring him along because they're going to need him in pinch running situations, because that's what you need in the playoffs. So you need those guys to get a little bit of time. All right, let's talk a little bit about.
And we've seen Snit try some things like that. So in the series against the Pirates, we're about to recap that. Travis d'Arnaud got 2 consecutive starts because Snit wanted him to have that muscle memory of playing back-to-back like that in case they need him to do it in the postseason, because it's been so long since he started multiple games in a row. So, they're starting to think about, okay, how do we work other guys in to make sure everybody's fresh and hot for the postseason?
Yeah. And the thing is, because you don't want to bring a guy just dry off the bench, and that hasn't had any experience whatsoever. Speaking of the Pirates, let's mention that a little bit. Is that series, I did not realize that what was really in it for the Pirates. The Pirates, as I'm coming up and I'm listening, I told you that I was on the road, so I was listening to the Braves broadcast, I was listening to radio, listening to the stream, and how well the Pirates have done against everybody but their own division. And this basically was kind of make or break today. This would have given them a winning record if they would have beaten the Braves in the final game of the series, and instead they don't get that. However, the Braves, the pesky Pirates, the pesky St. Louis Cardinals, all these teams that don't do well in their division seem to turn it on for the Braves.
The Braves have a target on their back. Everybody understands this is the best team in baseball, and we're going to bring our A game. It's like when you watch in the NFL, when you go to take on the Chiefs. It used to be the Patriots. Now it's the Chiefs. You go to take on the Chiefs, you play your A game. Yeah. You pull out all the stops, you empty the playbook, you do all of that. That's how it is with the Braves. Everybody says this is the best team in baseball. We want to do everything we can to beat them. And so you see things where you'll struggle. Weirdly, we had to win on Sunday to win the season series against the Pirates. Like, it happens.
Yeah. Speaking of best in baseball, going back to what we talked about a little bit a while ago, talking about how 6 up on the Dodgers, 3 up, I think, going into the day. I don't know where they stand as far as today is concerned when we do this pod. With the Orioles, I think it was 3 up for the best record in baseball as well. So
still 3 up. They're 90-52. Atlanta is 93-49. So technically 3.5 games.
So the Braves still could walk away with that as well if they continue to do well as far as who they face in the future. Speaking of the Pirates, Snit tossed. This is something I've wanted all year. I don't know why. I think it's because I missed the Bobby Cox years. He seemed to be super upset.
And that's something Snit's known for taking care of his guys, right? Like,
he is.
Like he is a manager's coach, and every now and then he likes to just kind of remind the guys, like, hey, I'm going to have your back if something stupid happens. And so he went out there, he threw a fit, he got thrown out, he got his money's worth. He absolutely did. And he was technically right. They had warned both sides, and then
They did.
And I don't think the hit by pitch was intentional, but he's right that after you've warned them, when there is a hit by pitch, you're supposed to throw the guy out who does it. And so, like, I get it. And I'm not saying that, like, I understand why they didn't throw him out, but he technically was right. And so he got his money's worth, but he showed the guys, like, we're not going to let them do that stuff without pushing back on it. I think that's the big takeaway from this is we're going to stand up to you guys.
At one point in time, if you read his lips, he said, if that were my guy, you would toss him. And he's right. I mean, if that's a Brave that throws against a Pirate, because the Pirates I don't know if they went after Acuna earlier in the game. I'm not going to go that direction. I'm just saying there was a little bit of jawing back and forth. However,
if the Braves had retaliated in that scenario and hit somebody, you absolutely would have seen that Braves pitcher get thrown out. And so because of that was Snit's point, and he's right. And so I think this was one of those ejections that was more messaging than anything. He was telling the guys, I'm going to stand up for you. He will also happen to be right. And this thing with Snit is he doesn't always want to get thrown out of the game because he wants them. He wants to make sure that he can still help the team win. He understands that he is useful because of his experience and everything like that. But this was the perfect storm of a chance to give a message to my guys. And I'm also right. Yeah. So in that situation, I guarantee you that's an ejection that MLB will not fine him for because he was technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. It's technically correct.
Exactly. A series win is a series win. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize how good the Pirates are. Their record doesn't show it. However, one of the reasons being, I saw this today. I saw this statistic. I was absolutely shocked by it. In their own division, they've only beaten the Cubs one time all year long. And, of course, that's in their division. So that's where a lot of their losses accumulated, having to play. It's like the Braves and Phillies playing each other over and over, and the Braves and Marlins playing each other over and over. The Pirates, same thing with the Cubs, only getting one win out of it. However, now I mentioned Braves, Phillies. That's where we're headed. And it starts with a doubleheader on the opening day, and still some question marks as far as the Braves are concerned, except for game one. I think we're all set. But even as I was listening coming up as I was traveling, Lindsay, that even the radio crew is not real sure who's going to do game one and who's going to do game two. So a lot of undecisives as far as the opening day.
There's been a lot of changes in the Braves pitching schedule. So last week, when you called up Darius Vines, the idea was he can be there in the bullpen if we need him, but we're going to have him start on Saturday. Spencer Strider gets blown up by the Cardinals. Darius Vines has to come in the game, pitch in relief. They use him again on Friday, and then they call up Dylan Dodd to start on Saturday. Saturday was Charlie Morton's scheduled start day. That was normal rest for him. they pushed him back to Monday so that him and Strider could do the doubleheader. So they call up Alan Winans to do that. Spencer Strider is dealing with the same virus that knocked Austin Riley out of 2 games last week. So they moved Spencer Strider from Monday to Wednesday. But now you're in the situation of Michael Soroka shut down for the year. He's not an option. And by the way, I'm not happy about how that played out. I wrote the whole thing up at bravestoday.com. They called him up and I was like, you shouldn't call him up yet. This is too early. And a lot of the Braves beat was like, the date doesn't matter. He's not going to stay up. And then he got hurt and he's on the injured list and he gets the service time and all the stuff we talked about. So go read that.
Yep.
Anyway, so Charlie Morton starting, the official list on the Braves website has Charlie Morton starting game 1 versus Taijuan Walker.
Right.
Game 2 is TBD. Max Fried is on normal rest for Tuesday. They're not going to throw him early. They're not this close to the playoffs. They're trying to get guys extra rest. They're not going to throw him early. Spencer Strider's moved to Wednesday. They literally don't have anybody for Monday. Vines pitched on Friday. He can't pitch on Monday. Dodd pitched on Saturday. Winans pitched on Sunday. Schuster pitched on Friday. I think it's Friday in Gwinnett. And so they literally don't have somebody to start on Monday in game 2. I think you're either going to see a transaction to try to get someone. I really think AJ Smith-Shawver could be an option. They've said Kyle Wright might be an option.
Yes.
He just finished. He just broke the 50 pitch mark in his most recent rehab start. He's made 3 rehab starts. And so he is an option for Monday simply because you don't have anybody else. Atlanta had all of these guys they were using as 5th starters, and every single one of them, Schuster, Dodd, Vines, Winans, they've all pitched in the last 3-4 days. And so this is not a place Atlanta's been this year. And you don't want to plan on a bullpen game when it's game 2 of a doubleheader, but you get an extra guy up on the roster. So you can make Wright the extra man on the roster, and then when you're plan to piggyback him with somebody like AJ Smith-Shawver, and then when you're done, you could send Shawver down and Wright could stay on the roster.
So let me give you a scenario of what Braves fans will get absolutely bananas over.
Okay.
What if Kyle Wright comes in and throws 50 pitches of no-hit ball against the Phillies?
Don't say that. He faced the Worcester Red Sox and went 50 pitches, was 3 2/3 with 1 hit, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts.
That's what I'm saying.
And
just telling you, 50 pitches
Worcester.
of no-hit ball.
I feel like the Phillies' offense is a little bit better than Worcester.
But it's game 2. They've already played a game.
Game 2.
They're a little. It's still hot in Philly. I'm sorry, we're not in fall weather yet. What if they're a little worn out? What if they start platooning some guys in? What if they're like, hey, we need to fill in? They got a bunch of AAA guys that come and play. What if we see 50 pitches of no-hit ball Lindsay?
Let me flip that for you. What happens to Braves fans if we see 50 pitches and that gets them through 1 2/3 innings with 7 hits and 5 runs?
Rehab. That's all. Just more rehab. That's all that is. Don't ruin my scenario.
I would love for Kyle Wright to be back. And the plan was to try to expedite his rehab so he could get at least 1 start in the regular season. I don't think the ideal scenario was him starting after 3 rehab starts after being out for 3.5 months. But if they have to use him, they'll use him. And he's a pro. We saw last year. He won 21 games. He led baseball in wins. He's a quality pitcher. I really hope that they don't push too far too quickly with him because they're desperate. And because of that, him potentially have a setback and not be available for the postseason. Because I do think a fully healthy Kyle Wright is probably a better number 4 starter than a fully healthy Bryce Elder. And that's not a popular opinion, but that's still how I feel just based on their stuff, because I think Kyle Wright is a special pitcher.
I don't disagree with that. And I will say, Braves fans, I know that y'all have wanted to see him back. I think you will before the season's over with. Everybody keeps asking when. This may be a scenario where they have to now just because of what Lindsay said. However, if we don't see him on the opening the second game of the series, which is a doubleheader of the day, against the Phillies. I still got a sneaky suspicion in the next week and a half we're going to see him up at the major league level. And you never know. He may make his day. They may be holding on. The Braves, AA as well as Snedeker, they're all big on pageantry a little bit from time to time. They may want him to come back at a home series in Atlanta, so they may hold him out just for that reason alone.
If they use him on a rehab start on Tuesday and they don't use him at the major league level, they could turn around and let him start either Sunday in Miami or Monday at home in Atlanta. And the way that this team feels like they like to do it, they like to give the guys a chance to get their feet underneath them on the road before they come home. So they absolutely could use him on Sunday in Miami and then turn around and let him pitch a home game the end of the week, get him a Friday night start in the home Reds and make it do the pageantry and all of that for it. So that could be the plan as well. We're literally not going to know about that pitcher until Monday morning when this pod drops and when they drop the official release to the media of the transactions they've made and who's the designated 27th man, or I guess 29th man in this case.
I'm going 3 of 4, and I think we sweep the doubleheader.
I'm going to go 2 and 2 simply because I don't know who that starter is going to be. But you feel good about having Morton, Fried, and Strider doing 3 of those 4, provided Strider's fully healthy after having the same virus that Austin Riley had. Provided he's back to full health, I feel good about at least 2 of 2, with the possibility of 3 and 1. I don't want to call a sweep simply because 1, I did it for the Cardinals, and look how that went. And 2, I don't know who that starter is going to be. So
yeah,
but
I will say this:
Wright and Smith-Shawver could be a decent piggyback.
That could be an awesome combo game. As before we get out of here, I did want to brag on Lindsay a little bit. You went undefeated, right? Play-by-play?
Yes. So I spent the last week doing play-by-play for the Double-A Montgomery Biscuits, affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays. They went 6-0 in those games. So they have 1 series left in the year, and they have a lead in the division. They are on track to make the postseason, and I think we're going to get invited back to do the postseason as well. Their play-by-play guy was called up to Tampa. They've hired somebody new for next season, but they won't have him until next season. And so we went 6-0, and I think I might get the call to come do some postseason games for the Biscuits as well.
Did you have fun?
It was tons of fun. Now, play-by-play is incredibly hard. I've had Ben Ingram on the show, and let me just kudos to Ben Ingram. That is a hard job to do. He gave me a lot of advice off air because that was the first time I have ever done that. But by Sunday, it sounded fantastic. We had a great game. There's some highlights out there with us in it if you want to go look at that. It was great.
He did it with Double D. We've had him on to talk about the Pirates, Daryl Dapprich. And so very cool stuff as you'll hear him do a little postseason play if they get the opportunity to. Of course, we'll have all your Braves coverage right here on Braves Today. All the written work at bravestoday.com, and you can follow us on Twitter at Braves_today. He's Lindsay Crosby. I'm Ben Taylor. It is going to be 3 of 4 against the Phillies. We're going to be celebrating in Miami. I can just tell you that right now.
I love it.
And we're going to see Kyle Wright throw a no-hitter on his opening. Oh, man. You talk about hot takes. Zach Blackerby is going to absolutely kill me for putting that out there. So, Lindsay, as always, I greatly appreciate your time, brother.
Thanks, buddy.